Good morning. So, where am I going? This way? Possibly. I don't really know where I'm going. I'm kind of just driving a random route around random places. I've got a very short journey today. Technically 150 k's if I went straight, compared to 400 yesterday, which was ridiculous. So yeah, much shorter route today. It's a shame I didn't get very much sleep. Apparently the entire world decided to explode last night at around 3 in the morning, where there was suddenly an enormous thunderstorm. You wouldn't know because there isn't any water anywhere anymore, despite the fact that about probably, I don't know, 30-40 mils of rain fell out of the sky in about an hour and a half. It was mental, but apparently it then all dried up almost immediately, and no one else seems to have any recollection of the thunderstorm even taking place, which is completely ridiculous because it kept me awake for 4 hours, and it was really bloody loud and really incredible. It was really, really cool, but I would have rather had more sleep. But oh well, can't have everything, I suppose. At least it was a thunderstorm and not something stupid. So yeah, no, that was novel. I got here. It took some time, but I got here, even if it was 400 kilometers. And when I arrived, I was therefore absolutely dead. 400 kilometers is a really, really, really long bloody way, but I got here, I'm alive, all is good. It's very pretty. I went and sat on the beach, met some really cool people. Two guys from Trondheim who are interrailing around Europe. One girl who works at the hostel, German, who went to school in the UK for a while and studies languages and is here for a couple of months to do a foreign placement, essentially, which sounded pretty cool. A couple of other people from all over the place, one guy from Quebec. So yeah, that was cool. One guy from New York. It was the first hostel I really talked to people, where people were actually friendly rather than just being completely alienated by me or not being able to speak any kind of similar language. So yeah, that was fun. And so I went and sat on the beach yesterday until about 11:30, and then after that I went to... Ooh, this looks like a mountain road. That's interesting. After the beach, I went to back to the hostel and sat and just chatted to people for a while, and then I went to sleep, and it was great. Oh, crap. Apparently where I've gone is a dead end. Oh well, I need to look at where I'm supposed to be going in that case, rather than just riding in a given direction. Oh bollocks. Oh well. Anyway, wow. Okay, this is actually quite cool, but obviously hey look, water on the ground. There, see, look, I told you there was a storm and there was rain. Wow. That's very cool, even if it is completely the wrong way. Anyway, time to go back the way I came, since obviously I've gone the wrong way. Yeah, so yesterday was knackering and horrendous, but I did see some cool stuff, so that helped. And then the hostel was really nice, and it turned out I had more days than I thought. So I thought I was supposed to be in Monaco today, and it turns out I'm not. I have an extra day, so I'm going to Fréjus because that's on the coast still, and is about 150 k's rather than 400. So I get a vaguely relaxed day, somewhat. So if I keep going the wrong way, then that will not help. I actually quite like Marseille. I think I'd come back here. I like the hostel. The hostel's very cool. It's literally about 200 metres from the beach, which is freaking awesome. The people there are really cool. Everyone's actually really friendly, though, as per usual. It doesn't have aircon. Nowhere in France has bloody aircon. You know, why do you need aircon? It's not like it's 30 plus degrees ever. You can just go throw yourself in the sea, unless you're inside, in which case you need some form of... yeah, anyway. So, nowhere has aircon and nowhere has fans, and I don't really understand how anybody functions, but people somehow manage, somehow. So, I grinned and bore it, and it was okay. I'd certainly come back. I considered staying for 2 nights, but the problem with staying for 2 nights is it would mean I'd have a 270 kilometre ride tomorrow, and having done a 400k ride today, I think I'd rather do 2 short rides than another long one, since I've also got 200 odd k's to go after I leave Monaco. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan, and we'll see what happens. I think I might possibly need to go up there. I'm not sure though, so I'm just going to go round. That's what I'm going to do. Whee! Je suis un touriste. I have no idea what I'm doing. Also, I looked up where I'm supposed to be going, and where I'm supposed to be going isn't written on any signs, as per freaking usual. Because why would you write locations on signs? What does that achieve? Bloody France. Not as bad as Spain, it must be said, but they still lack somewhat in the detail level of, especially on main roads, there's just kind of not really signs for anything. I found the Auberge de Jeunesse, the youth hostel, pretty much by accident, because I got to the vague area of where it was, and then I drove past this roundabout I'm about to come off, and I happened to notice over there's a sign that says Auberge de Jeunesse de Bonneveine. And I was like, oh, holy crap, that's where I'm supposed to be, as I sail off down here. So then I had to go round to that roundabout I've just gone round, turn all the way round, come back up again. So that was exciting. Such an idiot. I love this country! This is... oh man. And people say they'd rather take the auto route. Those people are wrong. Look at this. It is absolutely stunning. Whee. Though I do kind of wish the wall was a little higher. But yeah, other than that, stunning. Ooh, I'm gonna stop and take a photo. Fucking-nificent. Stop. I think this is going to be a common theme where I turn this on because just look at the... oh my god, it's the Mediterranean, but it's surrounded by mountains, and I'm on one of these mountain roads, and it's freaking awesome. Though I am going rather slowly because I'm stuck behind 3 cars and I have yet to find a space to overtake them. But I don't really care because it gives me more time to look at the view, and the view is freaking incredible. I mean, just look at it! These are villages built on top of mountains right next to the water. It's freaking amazing. There's a field over there. So awesome. Even just the boring bits, I mean, it's like they cleaved this out of rock. It's absolutely incredible. amount of work that must have gone in to create somewhere like this. There must be a reason. I mean, you wouldn't do all this work if it was a waste of time. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. It must be said, this helmet of mine, so I have a Shoei Neotech, I've said it a few times, it's new, it's very, very, very nice, the most, by such an enormous margin, the most useful part of it is the integrated sun visor. I mean, the flip front is just, I had a full face for a long time. I had an XR1100. Before I had an XR1100, I briefly had a multi-tech until I was in an accident, and then that was the end of the multi-tech. But the multi-tech was loud, and the multi-tech didn't have a sun visor, and it was basically, it was just a flip front instead of a full face, and it didn't really, there was no real difference between the two. Whereas here, with this, the Neotech is flip front with a visor, and it's as quiet as a full face with everything closed, and it's comfortable, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful helmet. But especially in weather like this, where the sky is just blue, there are no clouds, there are no wisps, there are no cirrus, there is literally nothing but blue in the sky. Having an integrated sun visor is fantastic. For a long time I wore glasses or sunglasses, so usually I try and wear contacts, but I wore sunglasses, and the problem with sunglasses is that sunglasses stick out a little, and they put pressure on the side of your face when the side of your face is being squished by a helmet, and that got to be unbearable. So in the end I just gave up and just was content with being somewhat blinded, and exceedingly happy when I went into tunnels. But this is brilliant because it's tinted when I need it, and then if I go into a tunnel I just flick this, and then there's no tint anymore. And that, for me, is absolutely invaluable. I mean, the only equivalent would be having reactions lenses, but even reactions lenses, you go into a tunnel, they take 20 seconds to adjust to the fact that it's suddenly dark as shit, and then they go light, and then you pop out, and then they take time to adjust to the fact that it's dark, whereas this is just a flick and then you're fine, and it's brilliant, and I absolutely love it. Oh, interesting. It was an expensive helmet, but it has more than paid for itself over the course of this trip by such a spectacular margin. It's quiet, it's not too hot, it's very well ventilated. The liner is removable, which is good because it means I can wash it because it's a bit sweaty. The sun visor is incredibly helpful, and the other advantage of the sun visor is it means I can have my normal visor up and the sun visor down, and I still don't get wind in my eyes, which is perfect. So yeah, stuff is good, and it's a superb helmet. It was certainly not cheap. It's not as expensive as a Schuberth C3, but then apparently it's not quite as good as a Schuberth C3, and not as good as a well, it's probably about as good as a C3, but not as good as a C3 Pro. But then it was also nowhere near the price of a C3 Pro, so you know, there is that. If anybody decides at some point that actually they'd quite like a flip front helmet and they have the money to go for it, I would highly recommend the Neotech. I had an XR11 because I don't like wind noise. Wind noise does bad things to my head, and this is as quiet as the XR11. I've also now started wearing earplugs. So before I had headphones, and then I got my Scala Rider, and I used that to play music, but I tended to not wear earphones. But I also didn't travel particularly far, so it wasn't a huge issue. But I figured for travelling around Europe, it was probably a good idea for me to get earplugs, because a few thousand kilometres with no earplugs would be quite a lot of ear damage. So, oh god, we're stuck behind a 50cc scooter. Tedious. Yeah, if anybody watching these doesn't wear earplugs and or doesn't use in-ear headphones, why? What is wrong with you? That's just stupid. They're absolutely vital to the health of your ears by a million miles. You can't do many miles and not wear earplugs and expect to come out of it with perfect hearing. Your hearing will be damaged at bad, once your hearing is damaged, that's it. There's no such thing as repairing your hearing. It's not like your eyes. You can't correct your hearing without a hearing aid. It's just a case of, well, you're deaf now, that's it. So yeah, seriously, wear earplugs. Motorbiking's loud. Ah! That was completely unexpected. Anyway, yeah, motorbiking is loud. Be safe, kids. Also, wear armour. You probably noticed that I've gone the whole way around Europe, despite the ridiculous heat, wearing armour. This is because if I wasn't wearing armour and I came off, I would be pasted all over the road and be in parts. As it is, I'm wearing a leather jacket which has armour in the back, shoulders and elbows. I'm wearing Kevlar jeans which are reinforced with 300 GSM Kevlar all the way over the knees and the thighs and the buttocks, and have knee pads in. I'm also wearing fully armoured boots and fully armoured gloves, and obviously a flip front helmet which is full face most of the time. I very rarely use it in flip up mode unless I'm in a city going 50 kilometers an hour. At all other times I will have it down, just because you come off with a flip front up, you got no chin. So yeah, full armour despite the heat, because I like being alive. So yeah, be safe. Also, show your Neotech, very good. That kind of ends my public service announcement. Bye! I'm in Saint-Tropez. I'm leaving now. It's fucking hot, but luckily there's a breeze, and the breeze is cooling it down somewhat. Oh god. But still, it's freaking hot, and I've been walking around looking at boats for the last hour. Pretty much. I had lunch and then just spent an hour looking at boats. There's not many expensive cars, though I keep driving past a few. What's mostly expensive with boats? There are some utterly flabbergastingly expensive looking boats. There was one ship, it can't be called a boat, it's far too large, which had it had like 3 floors. It had its own freaking boat crane. It must be, you know, a couple of million. Cayman Islands registered, obviously. Where else would you register a boat if you had that much money? Also, in the entire time I was in Spain, I saw a grand total of 1 English person driving an English vehicle. 1 English plate. The whole time I was in Spain. 4 days. 4.5 days. Ish. 3 nights. 4 nights. So yeah. 4 nights, so 4.5 days. Anyway, whatever. I saw 1. The whole time I travelled along the coast, I saw 2, maybe 3, but I think 2 English cars. Here, there were 2 parked in Saint-Tropez. I drove past 2, and then I've seen another 1 subsequently. So in one day I have already surpassed my count for the entire rest of the holiday of how many English people in their own cars have I seen. Alex and his parents don't count because I knew that was going to be the case. Yeah, awesome. It's a classic camper. Oh, it's not got a split windscreen though. It's not one of the originals. So they're rare as hen's teeth these days. I forgot to mention something. Well, I saw another British person, but that isn't what I forgot to mention. As I was leaving Monaco, Saint-Tropez, that place, there was a head-on collision. Probably about 10 cars in front of me, and I don't really see how it happened. It seemed like somebody on my side of the road looked as though they wanted to pull in somewhere, but what they actually did was cross over onto the wrong side of the road as if to, I guess, pull in on something on that side, while completely failing to observe whether there was actually anybody coming towards them or not, and they promptly smashed into the car that was driving towards them, which for some unknown fucking reason they didn't notice was there. I don't really understand how that could be the case, but clearly that is what happened, because there was a car on the wrong side of the road, which was not our side of the road, which had the entirety of its engine block embedded in another vehicle which had a similar situation, and there was a lot of leaking fluid all over the floor. No one had arrived yet, so clearly it happened very recently, since there were no police, no gendarmes, no ambulance, nothing. There's nobody to organise the traffic except for some bystanders who I think had just realised how absolutely disastrous this was. And there were bits of debris all over the road, which was fun, having to avoid various large chunks of sharp plastic. But yeah, that was unexpected. I'm quite glad I didn't see it. I don't think that would have been particularly pleasant to watch, as some 2 people head-on collision into each other, but no, I didn't see it, just saw the aftermath, though it couldn't have happened that far away from me. But well, anyway, yeah, just thought I'd mention that before I forgot.